Hello everyone and welcome back to the OMLN Tournament 4th edition. Once again, going back to another match in the round of 64 bracket. We have seen a bunch of these matches already going into just about the first quarter of matches, and we've still got a lot of matches full steam ahead with everything all due in the table we have, and it's going to be none other than ParasolTree going up against XxNewson. So seed 9 versus seed 56. This is quite a fair discrepancy in terms of the seedings, but I do believe that this match is going to be highly competent at that as well. So nonetheless, I'm your host Epic Man 2, and joining alongside is going to be none other than Yonjin. What's rockin'?
Hello everyone, I'm Yonjin. You might have never heard of me before because I actually have barely cast in Mania. The only other Mania tournament I've ever cast is like 1T World Cup, but I came from other modes, which is from Taiko and Catch. So this is like I would say like a very unique experience for me personally, because Mania is very different from every other mode. The matches are really close in terms of the scoring system. Like every map is like 10,000 points difference at the most. So it's very excited to see how Mania works compared to like every other mode for me personally. And we're gonna see some like a pretty close match, I do assume, despite we see a very high seeding difference. But one more thing that's very different compared to every other mode is like there are no mods. So every map is a free mod. So that's a very different thing compared to like everything that I've cast. So but I'm very excited to be here to cast between these two players, ParasolTree and XxNewson.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are going to be looking really cool, especially the fact that both these players are fairly popular, very reputable players within their own countries as well. Very representative of the type of players that you have, especially both in the fields of China and then the United Kingdom as well. Both these players also very important in the core roster for both their MWC teams as well. So that definitely does factor into the fact that facing off in this beginner round of the tournament itself, it does open up for a lot of these opportunities that there's going to be some points taken off, but really it's just down to whoever can at least utilize some of these maps best. And XxNewson going to be rolling about 73 points. I believe that is going to be a protect for wild card free from what I can see here.
Yeah, absolutely, because XxNewson, compared to ParasolTree, is not really exactly a high skill cap player. I did ref XxNewson's lobby, and I did see his accuracy is very high, but his misjudgment and I would say misses occur a lot more compared to the other players, and he's struggled, I would say, quite a bit in some of the harder maps according to the qualifiers pool for the 5-3 South, such as Stage 4, Stage 6, Stage 7. So some of the harder maps in general are probably going to be not a favor towards ParasolTree, but you are in a lot easier pool, so we might see some scores being taken from Newson despite such a high seed difference between these two players. And we do see ParasolTree going to be protecting the technical 2, the Polyrhythm map, to Elson.
Sorry.
No worries, I was going to say he's also going to be banning out one of the Wildcards 1 map, so we're not going to be seeing our core map today. Mind this order, it's going to be removed from the pool, so maybe going against some of the more accuracy-oriented picks, banning on some of that instead, because ParasolTree, definitely a very consistent player, and I would say a lot higher skill cap compared to Newson, FCing every single map in the qualifiers lobby.
Yeah, absolutely, and that alone definitely goes to show that ParasolTree has the resources that is really just what you need when it comes to a tournament like this, where you have like a lot of difficulty to scale through, and as long as you can scale to the late game well, then you should be able to fight in the early game as well, which is arguably where a lot of problems are probably coming up, especially when you have to face some of these really high tier players to start off with. And going to be starting it off with Firmer Dynamics Tech Free. This one is fairly stream burst oriented, so knowing Newson is very, very capable when it comes to accuracy alone, especially hailing from some other VSRGs such as Flash Revolution, for example. I could definitely see him taking upon some maps like this as well, especially in the earlier game. So, and ParasolTree, kind of self-explanatory. I think ParasolTree just needs no introduction, really. Seed 9 in the entire tournament. you can probably already fill in the gaps.
There's a lot of shields required in this map too, which Newson did struggle quite a lot in stage 4 in the qualifiers. So I would say this is kind of similar towards that in terms of the shield requirements. So we might see Newson a bit struggle on some of those shield patterning, but everything else he should have high accuracy and able to go up against ParasolTree in this sense. At the start of the map, first 10% very close in terms of scoring, but Newson's gonna be ahead in terms of accuracy by just a tiny margin now.
Yeah, it's only 0.010%, but especially taking some misjudgments there, that's going to flicker the score for a bit, as the score line is now a bit unstable. Still only a few numbers, only just tenths of numbers inside of Newson, but we still see glimpses of it going into the side of ParasolTree, not getting exactly the same amount of misjudgments that Newson has, not being able to reciprocate, and Newson just needs to try their best to recover from that little burden there.
Yeah, it's still very close in terms of scores. Newson probably just have a bit of a lot more misjudgment compared to ParasolTree, but Newson is what we would call in Taiko more like a unstable rate player, very strong in terms of the ratio. Usually the score extremely high in terms of the ratio performances. So that's why the scores is still somewhat. It's still really close, like a 3-digit scoring difference, and it's still flickering despite the 0.05% accuracy difference between these two players. We're slowly diving into the second half of the map, which we'll be going to be seeing more short LNs and some shield patterns occurred in the second half of the map.
Yeah, there's still a lot of room for error between both these players right now, but even then, neither of these players have really put a foot wrong. Newson being able to recover the accuracy department, being able to maintain such a good combo. Both these players still on the board for an FC on this map right here, going into the final quarter. It's really just down to at least trying to hold on as best as they can, because who knows what would happen if one of these players was to miss, because all of that effort that they've spent the past 2 minutes or so striving for could all just be lost in the matter of seconds.
Absolutely. Last part of the map, and the map doesn't really slow down until at the very end. We still got some very disgusting patterns in the final 10th of the map, and it's still flickering towards both players. Anyone has a chance to win this map. They just have to make a bit less mistake compared to the other player. But it seems like ParasolTree is gonna be barely scrapping his firstborn by a 600 points difference on their first map. Actually, one more great compared to Newson, but ParasolTree winning by quite a lot in the ratio department here.
Absolutely. Had it not been for one of these grades, maybe if we have seen yet some more grades from Parasol, this could have been quite a dangerous situation from them, especially with how close this map was to begin with. But that aside, that is going to be the starting point for ParasolTree, one of many, I'd say, for going into this round. And now next, we've still got to see yet another map that is going to be picked out by the next in line, in which we're going to be seeing the Earth being picked out here, as we can see here.
Yep, and this is actually going to be the actual ParasolTree pick. The last pick is actually from Newson, and you can see Newson really try their best on his own pick here. But now ParasolTree going for something that he actually protected. So not wasting any time, but we can see Newson, despite being seed 56, he's not really a seed 56, especially on this pool out, which the mechanics are a lot lower in comparison to the qualifiers.
Yeah, a lot of the seedings in this tournament are just kind of the same, because you just like look at the players that are in, and then if you understand some of the individual players, you literally just find yourself sitting in your chair just questioning, how exactly is this person seed 56? They have the luxury of an accuracy and advantage, but then it's only really just down to messing on some of the later stages in the qualifiers, which probably determine some of the seedings. But as we say that, going into the map, you still have so many staggered releases. Some of these patterns gonna be kind of odd at first, but so far it seems like both these players still doing really well at being able to act through it as well, being able to brute force through a lot of these patterns as well, even with a lot of these really polyrhythm, unorthodox patterns that we can see so far.
Yeah, despite the song is a polyrhythm song, it's actually pretty simple in terms of snapping compared to what you think in a polyrhythm song. Mostly on the 1/3 and 1/3 and 1/4 judgment compared to what you expect more like 1/5. But the last part of the map has a lot of mini tech 1/8 burst sessions, because the song in the last, I would say 20% is most basically a double BPM, and this map is also extremely short. We are already halfway through in Epic Man as we are speaking, introducing the map, and it's already halfway through, and once again every map is just flicker towards each side.
Yeah, the map doesn't let up on gas until you get to the very end, because this song, especially knowing that this was a custom song or an original from the OSO World Cup 2022's Grand Finals, you can definitely expect that this map is going to be nothing short of unconventional. It has basically all that you would probably expect from an II-L song specifically, or at least like this is kind of a change of pace from majority of his discography, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. I would say this is a bit more on the simple side compared to most of his music. But yeah, 2L did put in a speed part in the end of the song, and this is the speed part. It might actually make a difference in the last part, but not really. Once again, it's still anyone's game. But ParasolTree, once again, barely scrapping the point, actually has one more misjudgment compared to Newson. Newson with a double S, but losing the map in the double S fraction. That shows how strong these two players are. And once again, ParasolTree just winning based off the ratio.
Yeah, that is definitely quite a dangerous moment going into the ending of that map. Both these players have done really well being able to at least ensure that they have some of the best accuracies possible. And even then, Parasol does continue to win the ratio battle, but it's really just the misjudges that it boils down to, that closes the two together, that sews the gap essentially. And I feel that could fall into a disadvantage if not going well. It really just comes down to the next pick, which is gonna have to be from ParasolTree, I believe. Yeah, ParasolTree.
No. It's actually going to be from Newson. That was ParasolTree's pick.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, yeah. My bad. Okay, yeah.
No worries. I also thought the first map was actually going to be ParasolTree pick. Looking at the technical side of picks, but I guess Newson is hiding something compared to what we saw in the qualifiers. ParasolTree did pick his protected map, and it barely worked out on his side. So a bit dangerous, but. Again, these two players are just so high accuracy maintain type of players, especially Newson. Probably more benefit in this pool compared to the qualifiers, and that shows why this match is still extremely close despite, I would say, the 50 seeding difference. And next pick has been selected from Newson. It's going to be Soundholic Nightbird this time, picking the Density 2, a second map in that category.
All right, definitely a bit of an interesting pick, I'd say, going into some of the density maps. I know Newson is definitely a lot well-versed when it comes to some of the more straightforward, conventional LN maps, especially having played with him in MWC last year, basically, in the UK team. So definitely makes sense that he will try picking out for something that's a little safer as this one, especially compared to Density 3, which is definitely a lot faster, but this one has full LNs in question, so he's going to really need to combat ParasolTree for that lead, but so far doing pretty good as well. ParasolTree having a bit of a rougher misjudgment that's going to at least grant the lead to Newson by a few hundred points, but even then, very unsafe lead. Both these players still doing really well, being able to encapsulate the lead that they're exactly in desiring going past the first quarter.
Yeah, the first quarter of this map is very war heavy, with some strong emphasis on density and polyrhythms. You can see there's a lot of nodes in this map, and this is a very complex zone. But the last half, I would say, is a bit different compared to what we saw in the first 25% of the map. More emphasis on rows, which is following with similar patterns with more rows and density. So not done just yet, but again, this time, because of the misjudgment coming from Parasoltree, Newson's gonna be slightly ahead. So change of pace here.
Yeah, this is actually looking to be a really good pick from Newson, being able to counter some of these picks that ParasolTree had won off of earlier on. I feel like I'll go as far as to say that some of these less technical maps might actually be in the favor of Newson. It's just that both these players are just very, very even. It's just that ParasolTree does have a very high edge when it comes to the more technical maps. But even then, density is such a dangerous territory to even walk on. It's basically if you were to try going for a casual stroll on a field of landmines. That type of feeling.
But as Mappingmans was saying about mistakes, we do see ParasolTree actually making a miss. This player, despite FCing every single map during the qualifiers, is not going to be FCing a map in round of 64, and that is going to be extremely damaging towards his score here. You can see Newson's winning by this map by a lot, like 10 times more, because we have been only seeing 500 score difference in like every single map, and this is going to be the first time we see a 7,000 points, a 4-digit scoring difference, as ParasolTree actually gonna be missing once and finding 350s in that, and really hurts his scores. No idea what happened in that 3,000 combo mark here, but Newson finally gonna be scrapping a point. We're not gonna be ending this match with a sweep. A very good performance from Newson and a very good pick from him. Look at those ratio here, and no mistake, no misses. 4,000 combo, very clean from Newson.
Absolutely. That is an awesome score from Newson and an awesome counter altogether, all things considered. Raymay going to be the next in line to be chosen out. And honestly, even if it weren't for some of the breaks, for that one detrimental break that Parasol took, that was very, well, very, very scary, that it just destroyed their score altogether. The ratio battle was still won by Newson, especially the fact that both these players had the same amount of misjudgment, so it was basically neutralized at that point. But going into Raymay, maybe this one could be a bit of a change of pace. I know ParasolTree should at least be very, very comfortable when it comes to a lot of these coordination-oriented maps, but also Newson also very, very comfortable when it comes to a lot of these maps as well, when it comes to some of the more coordination-oriented patterns, where it is very less conventional, because it's like if you were to play some of these very old maps from maybe 6 years ago, where the meta was like a lot different for these tournaments in general, like when it comes to LN maps specifically here.
Yeah, as a Mania noob, this map still looks very similar to every other map here, but this map just gives a bit of like a coordinates between invert and regular notes reading. There's one free tapping sessions, and 3 notes inverts, which we'll be seeing on around 900 combo over here, which is very different compared to every other map so far we see. And you still need some focus on some of the readings, because some of these readings are not really occurred in nowadays in modern Mania mapping. We'll see if anyone actually going to be missing on our around like a 900 combo mark. But like we mentioned, these technical side of things, ParasolTree should be completely free on, like he should be completely fine on these patterning. We'll see can XxNewson catch up. But yeah, that's what I'm mentioning. The 3 notes inverse and a 1 free non-note patterning is really making XxNewson struggle in terms of reading. And we're finding a break there.
Yeah, a miss on this map is really going to cost you a lot of points, and that is something that you don't want at all by any means necessary going into a map like this, where you don't really have way too many notes to the point where you can at least bleed maybe a few mistakes here and there, some of these misjudgments. But even then, that said, ParasolTree still has an advantage by quite a bit now, going through a few thousand points. And especially going into the end of this break, you get another course. You still have a lot of these short elements, a lot of these streams, and a lot of these patterns that you need to at least try your best to act before it gets a little harder as it keeps going throughout the final quarter. And XxNewson's going to really have to try their best to recover the accuracy as much. And ParasolTree is also going to have to at least find some sort of miss along the way as well to be able to at least bring back fighting chance for the side of XxNewson.
Yeah, they're going to be more anchors occurred in this part of the map, but ParasolTree basically has to just hold not even like an extremely high accuracy, not even on the ratio. He just cannot, he just doesn't need to miss. This is the biggest score difference out of every map so far, and ParasolTree can be winning this map by a comfortable margin, 8,900 points. And yeah, the misses from XxNewson on the inverse patterning really makes this map swap towards ParasolTree. Once again, it was looking extremely close for the entire map until that miss happens. A really good ratio count from both players, but again, ParasolTree gonna be winning that ratio battle despite the misjudgment over there.
Yeah, once again, ParasolTree making it 3-1 to them in their favor. It is now time for Density 3, so this one going to be XxNewson's pick. Definitely quite sensible riding off of how Density 2 had went. This one is a little faster, and it's still relatively similar in terms of how the map is structured, only that it's less dense when it comes to the Ellen walls that you touched on earlier on the Density 2 map when we were spectating it.
Yeah, seemingly XxNewson has found a pick book against ParasolTree. Just pick all the density maps, and he's going to be going for Density 3. After seeing how Density 2 went, this map, I would say, is actually the highest BPM, being 195 BPM, so a 10 BPM higher compared to last Density 2. And it puts more emphasis on short LN rows at the side of the map. That has more density inverse gaps near the middle with some trails. So you can see it's another, say, more straightforward map, which compared to the last one, I would say last one is definitely not a straightforward map. So XxNewson trying his best on some of these like more straightforward, more, I would say, modern type of maps, compared like not crazy snappings and such, going up against ParasolTree. Let's see how he does on this one.
Yeah, in which the consistency factor is going to really have to be one of the most important things to consider going into a map like this, because of the fact that it introduces a lot of these patterns where it just feels like it's very stop and go when it comes to the type of patterns. You see some of these anchors, some of these stream bursts as well. With it being kind of similar to Density 2, it's a lot more broken. So you still have like just minuscule spaces to breathe in, really, for both these players. And going into the final third, really, so far, it seems like XxNewson still has the advantage, going off of some minor misjudgments from the side of ParasolTree. Looking very good for them. This is already a very good counter pick in particular. but I feel that the lead is still very unsafe. We can still see 80 misses from anyone, and that is going to literally make us lose our heads, and that is something that you don't even want going into a match like this.
Yeah, absolutely, but Newson is just rock solid on that accuracy here, 99.87 to 99.88 in this map. And you can see density is probably something that he's very strong at. Like we mentioned, he is what we can kind of consider as a unstable rate player. These flat out more regular type of maps, he just destroys them. Both player double S, Scorio and double S the map, but Newson winning on the ratio battle once again. Seemingly ParasolTree has perfect his ban here, banning out Density 1 against Newson, as Density Newson has been winning on every single pick in that category. So a really good pick from Newson, as he's gonna be achieving his second pawn against the number 9 seed. So again, this match, despite the huge seed difference, might not be what expected. That's what happens when it's two big names from both sides.
Yeah, indeed. Just the fact that it was only really 41 perfects of a difference as well really goes to show how insanely difficult these maps are in terms of being able to try and win the ratio battle, especially when you have two players pit up against each other, backs to the wall, when you know that both these players are very, very good at accuracy alone. There really isn't like a correct answer as to whose accuracy would be better at this point. It's really just coming down to how good they can perform under pressure, and especially going into the likes of Tech 1, this is going to be cat chased by NFRX. This one, a lot more technical. This is going to be one of the final tech maps that we have in the map pool available, and even then, this one still has a lot of these patterns which are very kind of flow or dump oriented, considering that this is a jazz song from the likes of Radwimps.
Yeah, it's not a vocal song because it's a song from the movie. It's a soundtrack song, but it does have a lot of jazz, in this song. Very flow oriented. There's some density, a mini density with some 1/6 snaps, and some of the release may give a bit of a trouble to some of the players because of the swing oriented sounding of the song.
Yeah, and I feel that's going to be one of the most important things going into this map as well. Just the fact that you still have a lot of these streams and a lot of these anchors and short LNs that you got to do your best to wriggle your way through. But even then, so far, it seems like both these players still on the board for an FC. Both these players tied in accuracy right now. It's only really ParasolTree with a very subtle 0.01% of accuracy before dropping that down to exactly the same exact accuracy. And we can see a little bit of a Dr. Martyr pill on the top of the board here. So far, both these players still not letting each other tug at the score lead just yet. We still have a lot of these bursts to go for, and this is only going into the back of the charts, we can see.
I do believe ParasolTree should be slightly ahead, but because Newson's client is like a millisecond before ParasolTree, that's why it's still flickering. But as the score, as the accuracy difference is getting bigger, as Newson having more misjudgment, ParasolTree, it's gonna be on, I would say, on quite a good lead. Suddenly, it was looking like all the time Newson's was on the lead, but again, like I mentioned, it's more like a client moment, and now it's 3,000 points in favor of ParasolTree. So seemingly all the technical picks are very good on ParasolTree side, and these are like swingy requirements of what, and these snapping changes are what giving ParasolTree a bit of a strong lead over here.
Yeah, and some more greats bleeding out from the side of Newson as well going into this map. This is going to basically punctualize that lead on the side of ParasolTree as it approaches the ending. You have a lot of these more insane patterns that you just get, some of these really odd dumps as well, and now going into the final burst, you still have a lot of these Ellens, a lot of these releases that you need to do your best to act, but so far ParasolTree is going to be the one making it out alive. 3,000 points in their favor, and also a V1 double S to add fuel to the fire. 45 perfects that separate the two, and it's just the 6 greats on the side of Newson that spelt the 2's absolute differential here.
Seemingly, ParasolTree are just a bit better in terms of all these technical map. Newson was on the chase against ParasolTree the entire map, but unfortunately that map is just in favor towards ParasolTree after all. And now finally the final pick from Newson, and of course he's gonna be going for the map that he protect. He saved it for the last, and possibly his best pick left, because some players sometimes like to put their best pick as their last pick. It gives a bit more like confidence, like, okay, I still have a pick, I still have a wild card, quote-unquote wild card left, a trump card left in my pocket, and he's gonna be putting this out now. It's Ahoy, the central VTubers on off the pool, and starts with light density with some 1/6 here, but yeah, this map, I will give it to you, Epic Man, to explain the map better, because I am a noob after all.
It's fine, trust me. But yeah, this map being a lot more density oriented out of all the other wildcards, arguably, in this pool of maps, this slew of noodles that we have available in the map pool itself, this does kind of offer a lot on its play as a density map, especially kind of following like kind of what we have seen, especially incorporating a lot of these shields as well. This is the type of things that you would probably see in modern MWC pools as maybe an LN3 map, I'd say. But even then, I still feel like this pick isn't exactly the safest for ParasolTree, because we have seen Newson thrive off of these density maps in general, even with some of these bursts as well. So far, Newson is really doing well at being able to act a lot of these patterns, even just being under the accuracy department by only 0.03% under ParasolTree's.
And this is why Newson decided to go for this map. I would say this map is actually the closest compared to all the density maps, despite it not being a density pool here, and that's why Newson saved it for last, and also it being his protect. But for now, map is a bit on the ParasolTree side, because there's 1 to 2 misjudgment happened throughout Newson, 0.06% lower than ParasolTree, but this map is quite long. There's still times for Newson to come back, more time for ParasolTree to make a mistake, but ParasolTree, a very consistent player. We did see him missing at density 2 though, so anything could have still happened. Like I mentioned, they're back to the same accuracy, and Newson is in the lead now.
Oh yeah, okay, this is looking really tight right now. Only a few hundred points in advantage of Newson, and any misjudgment is going to be the death of the score. And that is something that neither of these players can afford going into this more shield or anchor oriented section, where you have a lot of these patterns that you need to at least fry through that kind of break the consistency of what you would have seen of the rest of the map in comparison. And this is exactly what... But Newson takes the miss! No!
It's this shield. It happened in the qualifiers. He wasn't the best at some of the on the shield, quote-unquote shield slop map, and it happened again. He did miss on the shield over there on the shield session. Unfortunate case, the rest of the map was looking very well for him, and now ParasolTree, it's gonna be 5 on his pick, and there's only 25% of the map left that Newson could have come back from, but he needs this very consistent player to miss anytime soon for him to come back.
Yeah, and which it's gonna have to happen soon, because so far Newson is above the combo cap by about 300 notes now, and so ParasolTree is gonna have to miss going into the section here. But the only question is it actually gonna be happening? Because we've seen ParasolTree only miss once going into this whole round. Even with such a really nasty miss on density 2, he's gonna be taking that and pushing the envelope that he is not a player to be messed with. He is an absolute force to be reckoned with in this tournament alone. Seed 9 going into the round of 30 bracket and knocking the seed 56 player hailing of the United Kingdom down into that losers bracket. Only one great, and despite losing the ratio battle by quite a hefty amount, it's really just the consistency alone that it really boiled down to.
Yeah, you can see why Newson saved that map. You can see he actually won the ratio battle, but unfortunately, inconsistencies and some unfortunate situations like that could have happened. May have a perfect score, may have a score that in single player that could beat up ParasolTree, but unfortunately this is the case here. It's all about the match performance, and ParasolTree, being a more consistent player, is going to be moving forward to the round of 32 winners bracket. But Newson's performance today,
I've been saying a lot of the matches that you're going to be seeing in this round of 64 are looking so crazy that you literally look at these players individually and you just tell yourself that these are not exactly what the numbers say. That literally the naysayers here in this tournament, they don't even matter at all. And even then, with this one, it seems like both these players are going to be facing basically what we are going to be seeing is that both of these players are going to be facing oh my goodness, whoever wins, basically both these players could be facing between either Eternals or Zuba, depending on who wins and who loses their match during this weekend alone. So going to be relatively interesting, but we still have a lot of matches to go through in this weekend alone, in which the next match is actually going to be at 16 UTC, going to be none other than Astel going up against Joe's XD. So going to be a sick match to watch, honestly.
Yeah, it's actually going to be 2:15 UTC match, which is going to be Dark Camille 2 versus Matza, and Neon versus Very Sour. So the two upcoming matches, it's going to be happening on 15 UTC, and the streamer hates us, did accidentally mute us for around 10 seconds there, but we are here to explain rest of the matches that's going to be happening soon. But yeah, once again, I'll say what a close match that happened. Love you, Ray, but unfortunately accidentally muted us in the last seconds. But we are back for the next match between I do believe this next hour is not stream ? So been seeing you guys in around 16 UTC between like Epic Man said, Astral versus Joe's XD.
Yeah, once again, this has been me and Yongin commentating, and we will be signing off for about 25 minutes. See you in a bit.
Yep, and we're seeing you guys there. Goodbye.